If you've been charged with domestic violence in California, this video is for you. We're going to be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that people make in their domestic violence cases. My name is Veronica. I am a criminal defense attorney here in Los Angeles, and I help people who have been arrested put their criminal cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. And again, this is going to be about the 3 biggest mistakes that I have seen people, not just my clients, other people I've observed in court making in their criminal cases that really make things a whole lot worse. Number 1 is that in many domestic violence cases, there is a restraining order issued. And I've had clients that have tried to actually, even though there's a restraining order stopping them, making it illegal for them to be with the alleged victim in the case, they will walk on into court together. That's not a good idea. There are cases where maybe it's domestic violence mixed with some other charges that are more serious, or there's some enhancement on the case that makes bail really high and the defendant is in jail. And anybody who spends time in courts in Los Angeles will eventually have some of these tales where the case is called and the prosecutor adds charges because of jail calls. Because what will happen is that defendants will, from jail, want to call their loved one, and maybe their loved one wants to hear from them. Maybe it's a total misunderstanding. So there are all these jail calls, and of course you're warned on the call that they're being recorded, but I think sometimes people think, no, they're not really going to record them. Nobody's actually going to listen to this many calls, but they do. So you'll hear the prosecutor adding charges, sometimes bail being increased because of that. So violating the restraining order is a bad idea. I always warn people who are out of custody, if I think that they might go ahead and violate the restraining order, look, one of the places that people get caught a lot is driving in the car. The other thing is, and I tell them, don't tell me if you're going to violate it, right? I'm not here to be your accomplice in crime or advise you on how to commit crimes. But another thing is, how much do you trust the victim? Because the thing is, if you're a defendant in a criminal case and there's a restraining order against you, and you go ahead and you go back home with the victim, and you two are living your lives there, that's all great. But what about when you have too many glasses of wine, both of you at dinner on a Friday or Saturday night, and then she or he calls the cops on you? How much do you trust that person? Because I've seen that so very many times. You've given this alleged victim, obviously there was probably some kind of at least argument that occurred. Sometimes I guess that there are just total misunderstandings where the cop shouldn't have come out at all, but usually there's at least some kind of argument, some kind of negative event. And now you have given the victim all of this power, because all the victim has to do is call 911, say you're violating the restraining order, and the cops will come, they will arrest you, and now you're probably out on bail for your initial case, but now you're going to have an additional charge, and maybe that victim is the person you'd be looking to bail you out. So be very careful. Do not make your criminal case worse by violating the restraining order and getting caught. Number 2 is acting aggressively at court, and this one, you would think, who's going to do that, right? You're trying to show that you're not an abuser. But the thing is that the criminal court process, especially in Los Angeles, and actually, I've practiced in pretty much every major county in California, all of them that I've been to, are infuriating places. The way that defendants are treated, especially if you don't have a private attorney, is not nice. You're treated like you're guilty from the very beginning. And especially if you're innocent, I think, you might feel outraged at that. I had a client one time, we were standing outside the courthouse, and he was explaining to me, he wasn't yelling at me in any way, but he was explaining to me, how he's frustrated about the case, how the cops arrested him. So he's talking in an animated manner. And later I'm talking to the DA, I'm explaining hey, my client's such a good guy, he didn't do what you're accusing him of. And the DA was like, well, I saw the two of you outside, I saw how he was talking to you. And I had to explain, and hopefully he believed me. I'm not 100% sure, but I had to explain, no, that's not what that was. He wasn't yelling at me. But don't act aggressively towards your attorney. Don't act aggressively toward the bailiff. If you think that you can act aggressively toward the bailiff when they tell you to put your phone away, take your hat off, and the judge won't hear about it, the DA won't hear about it, you're mistaken. The DA, the bailiff, the judge, the clerk, the court reporter, all of those people are in that courtroom every day together. When they take a break, when it's Friday morning and there are donuts and bagels in chambers, they're all together. They're definitely talking about that. So don't do that. I know it's an infuriating place. I've seen bailiffs sometimes yell at defendants in a way where I'm like, yeah, I kind of would want to snap at her too, but do not do it. So that's number 2. Number 3 is failing to follow your lawyer's instructions. Okay, especially if you hire a lawyer. You are paying us to give you our best advice and to try to help you get the best possible result in your case. So if we give you instructions like, hey, start going to these classes. Hey, make sure that, okay, you just lost your job not too long ago. Look for a job so I can say that you're employed. Or, whatever it is, when we're giving you these instructions, we're not trying to be bossy. We're not trying to just run your life. We're trying to make sure that we do everything that we can between you and between us to get you the best possible result in the case. So some things I, as a lawyer, can do. I can file motions. I can talk to the DA. I can present the good things about you. But some of the things, sometimes you're going to have to help us out with a little bit. So for domestic violence charges, many times it's, hey, I want you to go to anger management or go to these domestic violence classes, get proof, bring it to me. I know that it's annoying to go. I know that they're about $25 each, but I wouldn't be telling you about that if I didn't think it's worth it. Anyway, I hope that this helps. If you do have a criminal case in Los Angeles County in Southern California, feel free to give me a call. You can also book a link down below.